Okay, before I put that back up into place, I'm going to start it and make sure I don't have a leak. Then I'll bolt it in and the fuel system's done. And I even made it not to make a giant mess. Let's see what happens. It's probably going to take a couple of times to start because I got to refill that fuel, that ball. Okay, no leaks, beautiful. So I'm going to bolt this back up in, and we're done with the fuel system. Okay, so I filled it up, checked the fluid, I ran it, made sure there was no leaks. I got to tell you, definitely sounds happier. My hydraulic pump had been whining a little bit, and that noise went away, so it must have really kind of needed that fluid. So the tractor itself actually sounds better. The engine oil change and the fluid change. I think I'm going to start changing the oil more often, even though it doesn't tell you you need to. I just think the motor sounds better. And I obviously want the thing to last for a long time. So now we'll go on to the next thing. Hi, it's Neil from Mighty Little Green Machine. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing our 200-hour service on the 2025R. It's actually got about 224 hours on it right now, so I'm a little over, but I finally got some downtime while I'm recovering, so I want to get this done and get it ready to go. So I'm going to go through a complete service. I'm going to do a little bit of extra just because it's been 200 hours, and I just want to lubricate some different points and stuff like that while I'm doing it, get it all ready for its next 200 hours. So let's get started. Okay, so I bought all my parts at greenpartsstore.com. It is a little bit less money. They ship them right to my house. Comes with the filter pack, the hydraulic fluid you need, and also the engine oil. They have good shipping. It doesn't take long to get it. It's pretty easy to look the parts up. I usually buy a lot of my stuff there. I bought a couple of replacement pieces at the dealer yesterday, and they were, I don't know, $16 and $7. And if I had bought them on Green Parts Store, it would have been like $5 and $12. So you save a few bucks. And the convenience of it, they ship it right to you. If you're in a hurry, you can go to the dealer, but and it'd be a little bit more money. But I wasn't in a rush. I've actually had this pack sitting in my garage now for about, I don't know, a month. Okay, I'm going to start with the oil change. I've run the tractor for a little bit to let it warm up. It does a couple of things. It gets the oil come out easier, but it also warms up the gasket on the oil filter. It makes it a little easy to get off. I've also removed the dipstick and the fill cover. This is something I always did when I was working in shops. Friendly's about to pull you guys over, which is wrapped around the tripod. But anyway, this is part of what helps you remember not to forget things. So I got to make sure I put the fill cap back in. Well, that reminds me to put oil in it. Plus, it allows the oil to drain quicker. So that's just a quick tip. That works out well. You're going to need a 17 millimeter wrencher socket for the drain. Friendly's tearing you guys around. Hold on. And you're going to need some sort of an oil filter wrench. I use this one. I like it because as you tighten it, it expands and then it tightens down on it. You can use the regular old style. You can use pliers. And if you're really desperate, you can actually punch a screwdriver through it and twist it. That makes a mess, but it works. So I'm going to go ahead and start draining the oil. I'm going to show you the drain plug underneath in case you don't know where it is. Okay, here's your front dry shaft. That one's your oil drain plug. It's directly under your loader arms. So if you look and you come out, you'll see There's your loader arm, so it's directly underneath there. So I'm just going to remove that and let the oil drain out. Okay, I got to tell you, filming these things for YouTube adds a lot of time to begin with. The dog helping me really adds time. This could be an all-day project with her help. So now I'm going to remove, I've already drained the oil, put the drain plug back in again, wiped all that down. Now I'm going to remove the oil filter. Nice black diesel oil. Okay, so I need to open my filter box and get my oil filter. Probably should have done this before. Now, well, here's what I did wrong. I should have done this before I pulled the oil and everything out of it to make sure I had the right parts. Because right now I'd be in trouble. Well, not in trouble, but well, it's just be easier. But that's the right filter. Okay, so I'm going to get a paint marker and actually write on here the date and the hours so that I remember when I did it. Okay, so I've marked my thing. Now, here's another trick. I've got my old oil filter and I've got my new one. I'm going to put the old one on top of the new one. Doing several things here. First of all, I just oiled my gasket to put it back on. Second of all, I know it's the right filter. Third of all, I know the old gasket's on the old filter and the new gasket's on the new filter. So you always want to put a little bit of oil on that. But that way I know I'm not going to double gasket it. It's just a safety, measure. I'm just going to thread this on. You do not need to gorilla this thing on. Snug. Okay. That's good. The oil filter's on. Now, we got to put some oil in it. Let me get a funnel. Okay, so I have the oil in it. I'm going to go ahead and start it. And then look for leaks on the filter and on the plug. Okay, no weeks. I'm going to let that soak down for a minute. And then check the oil, make sure we got the level right. Right, I'm going to let it drain back down in. Why is my dipstick stuck? Absolutely perfect. It's right at the full line. So, oil change is done. I think while I'm here, I'm going to do the air filter. That's easy. So if you've never taken this out before, you pull this orange tab out. That releases it. Twist this, and it pulls out. And then pull the filter out. You can see this thing's pretty dirty. I'll open the new one and show you the difference. And that's the wrong air filter. You See the size difference. Okay, so that's a problem. I don't know what I did. I'm gonna have to go figure out what that is. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I'll just get it swapped out, but this is why you check your stuff. Now we're gonna do the hydraulic fluid in the transaxle, but I want to show you something. I ordered the wrong kit. I ordered it for 2025, but it must be the older model. I don't know what I did. But anyway, it actually came with the wrong fluid. This is the correct fluid. If you're doing, I don't know about the rest of them. I'm sure the 3s are probably the same, but I know on the 2 series and on the 1 series, you want to use low viscosity high guard. The stuff that I got in the wrong kit that I ordered was not low viscosity. It even says it right on the cap, or actually on the dipstick to tell you. So I had to go buy this at the dealer. So make sure you have the right fluid. I don't know what the differences are, but it does specify it very much so. The other thing is we're going to have a hydraulic spin-on filter to change, and then there's a screen with a magnet in it we're going to remove and clean all the gunk out of it as part of that as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, here's the drain plug. It's on the right side of the machine, or what you would call the passenger side, all the way over on the bottom of the diff, and it's a 13 millimeter. Now, make sure you have a big enough bucket for this. There's at least 3 gallons of fluid in this thing, and so you don't want to overflow. So all I'm going to do is remove this plug like this and let this thing drain. There is a gasket on this plug, so make sure you double check and put that back in again. Okay, the fluid still looks really good. Little confession, I was supposed to change this at 50 hours, and I did not. I did on my 1025, and for some reason I didn't think I had to on this one, so this is actually the first fluid change, and it's 226 hours. That fluid still looks pretty good. It's a little dark, but... And then, I don't know if you can see that or not. Right up here is the spin-on filter. So we'll grab that in a minute. I'm going to let all the fluid drain out first. I'm going to go up top and take the dipstick and the fill plug out so this drains quicker. That thing's still draining, so I'm going to let it drain. I'm just going to break the hydraulic filter loose. I don't know if I'm going to need... Yeah, I figured. A filter wrench. May not have been so bad if I had done it like I should have. This would probably be easier if I was on the other side. Let me see if I can move you guys a little bit. Now see. Okay. There. I need both arms under here. Okay, that's loose. We're going to just leave that for now because that will drip some. I'm going to let the transaxle finish draining. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and... My rear drive shaft is facing perfect direction to grease it. This is a tough one to get to usually. So I'm going to go ahead and grease that. Oh, dropping you guys, sorry. There is my rear drive shaft. And this, you can see that thing just happened to line up perfectly. So while it's lined up, I'm going to go ahead and grease it. So let me go grab my grease gun. And then I'll look at the rest of them and see what I have to do. Let's see if we can get you guys so you can see. I don't know. We're going to try this. So if you can see, the grease fitting is right here. And I think I can get on it. looks like I can get on it. Let's see how we do. Now, if you have a belly mower, you probably already know this, but you also have Zerk fittings in your shaft for your mower. I do not, so I have front and rear drive shaft. And that's it. Okay, so somebody asked me to show how to grease the rear drive shaft. I don't know if you can see the fitting up in there or not, but all I do is, if you see the flywheel right here, it's almost got a handle on it, is I just move this flywheel, and it doesn't take much, and it moves that fitting, and just move it to where you need it to be. Now, it helps if you start close, because you don't have to move it as far, but the tractor needs to be in neutral. Obviously the parking brakes be on, the wheels should be chalked, but this is not that hard because this is pretty heavy. You can just kind of move it, and as you do, it moves the grease fitting and gets it into line for you. So I've unscrewed the old filter, it's down here, and now I'm going to take the new filter and do the exact same thing that I did with my oil filter. I'm going to put them together, make sure that they're the same, and I'm going to make sure I've got 2 gaskets, which I do, so I will not double gasket it, one on each filter. And this is just going to go snug. If you do this right, the next time you change it, it will it'll come off with hands. Okay, there we go. I forgot to write the date on that, but I haven't recorded on my phone anyway. There, now all I gotta do is pull the screen out and clean that. I'm a little scared, but we'll find out, I guess. That bucket is full. Well, that's draining. Right here, there's a hose, and that actually connects to where this is actually your, I think it's your return. Or no, maybe it's your feed tube. But anyway, inside there is a strainer with a magnet. So in order to get that out, we have to remove that hose. I'm going to go ahead and get the hose clamp off while I'm doing this. And then it's just a 6mm. By the way, this is a pain in the neck. And of course, these aren't staying clamped. It's a 6mm Allen head to get the strainer out, and I'm gonna use a hammer to tap that in because that's got paint all over it, and that won't fit good. If you round that out, it's a real pain in the neck to get it out. I had this on here good. Oh. Okay, come on. It's starting to come. Gotta get it up off the pipe. Then the fun part is you gotta get it back on the pipe when you're done. We're getting close. See if I can reach around and help it. It's kind of stuck to the hose, I think. What's going on here? Huh. It's fighting me. transaxle still draining. Okay, I think I'm gonna try. See if I got a different set of clamp pliers. Try that. Okay, so I got that clamp off. Now I'm gonna take a pair of channel locks and just grab the hose, I hope, and twist it back and forth a little to break it free on the pipe. Maybe. There's too much stuff here. Okay, I think it's free now. Okay. Now we're going to go back underneath and put the drain plug back in, change the filter, then we'll go ahead and take out this screen. At least we'll try to take out this screen. I don't know if you would be able to do this without spacers or not. Even with spacers, to be honest, it's way easier if you pull the tire. However, these tires are pretty heavy when they're loaded, so with my knee's still healing, I don't want to mess with it. So let's go back underneath. Okay, what I did was I got an extension because I can't get right on it around. Oh, I just lost my socket. I meant to go get that and I forgot. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Now, where did you go? There you are. Okay, so I'm going to put the 6mm on the extension. I don't know how much of this you can see. Find out where it sits. Just tap it in. Break the paint off. You can do this with an Allen key too. Just do the same thing. Make sure you tap it in. Okay, there's that bolt. So I'm going to leave right. I'm going to lose this. I guarantee I'm going to be looking everywhere for that in a minute. This is going to be stuck now. Oh, there it goes. Let's see. I gotta figure out how to get this hose off. This would be so much easier without the tire on here. I just don't have it in me. I think what I'm going to try and do is get underneath there. See if I can push the hose up off and then pull it out. Give it a shot anyway. Grab a little pry bar. And maybe a big flathead. Push up on it from underneath and see what I can do. Okay, I'm actually super impressed with how this thing looks, considering it's got 200 hours on it, 225 hours on it. I honestly expected it to be a lot worse. So I'm pretty happy with that. For those of you who don't know, there's a magnet inside of this. It just kind of free floats in there and it collects all this stuff. I'm just going to try and pop it out of here without getting pliers, but I think I'm going to have to grab a pair of pliers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all this up with brake clean, wipe down the magnet, make sure it's all clean, and then put it back together. What I ended up doing was taking a pry bar from the rear, putting it on the hose, and popping the hose up while I was pulling this out, and it came off nice. Now, That being said, I'm not totally sure how good it's going to go back together, but we'll find that out in a minute. One thing at a time. That's what the magnet looks like. I just wiped it all down. And that just floats inside the tube. So I'm going to clean the tube. I'll just put this back in it, and we'll put it all back together. I want to show you what I ended up doing that made this so much easier. I took the top clamp off of this hose from the top of it. I already had the bottom one off of there. And I was able to slide the hose up the pipe. Now it's out of the way. Now I got to just do is slide it back down and then set both clamps into place, and it'll be done. Much, much easier. Probably much quicker. Okay, so that was definitely the trick. If you look, that hose slid right back into place. I put the 2 clamps on it, and it worked out beautifully. So now all that's left to this part of the service is to put fluid back in it, which is I'm sure you all know, but I'll show you anyway. Goes in right here. Here's the cover. And this is like 3.3 gallons. I'm going to double check and then I'll let you know. Okay, so I filled it up, checked the fluid, I ran it, made sure there was no leaks. I got to tell you, it definitely sounds happier. My hydraulic pump had been whining a little bit, and that noise went away, so it must have really kind of needed that fluid. So the tractor itself actually sounds better. The engine oil change and the fluid change. I think I'm going to start changing the oil more often, even though it doesn't tell you need to. I just think the motor sounds better. And I obviously want the thing to last for a long time. So now we'll go on to the next thing. Okay, I'm down to fuel filters and the front axle fluid. There's an on-off here. That's a fuel shut-off for that. They're still going to lose some fluid. If this won't come off with your hands, you can use a pair of pliers. I'm sure they make a special wrench for this. But for the amount of time I have to do this, I'm not buying it. This just unthreads. Like I said, you're going to lose some fluid. I don't know if you can see the bucket or not, but I have a bucket underneath there. Now, don't lose the spring. And the float, that's a float to yeah, that thing's pretty dirty. I don't know if you can see that. That little float tells you when there's water in the fluid, in the fuel. Probably should have opened this before. I had fuel all over my hands. Of course, this is the easy one. The hard one is on the other side underneath. On the 2025, it's up underneath the floorboard. And on the 1025, it's up under the rear fender. Now, I was going to put a fuel shutoff in line with that, because there's no way they shut the fuel off, but I bought the wrong size, so it's going to have to wait. I bought a 3/8. You need 5/16. And in theory, this should just screw back on. I need to get a rag. Now, if you don't know, and I'm sure you all do know, but the reason my fuel is red is because I run off-road diesel. It's got a dye in it. If you get, so you don't pay taxes on it. That's why it saves you money. But if a trucker, say, tried to run it in there and they got stopped, it's not hard. I mean, it's the cops can see. It's a big fine if they get caught. This is not going on very nicely, and I don't like that. looks straight, but yeah, I don't like that at all. Just gonna make sure it's not leaking. Okay, that one's done. Well, like I said, that was the easy one. Now I got to climb under the tractor, and I'll show you guys what it looks like under there and what I'm going to do. I don't know that I'm going to be able to actually have a camera under there, but you'll get the idea. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but this filter's right up in here. It's bolted to this frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbolt it, and then I'm going to put a pair of hose clamps, and I'll show you what those look like. But if you don't have those, you can use vice grips. Just wrap the jaws in rags so you don't hurt the hose. And then I'm going to unscrew it, put the new one in, and screw it back up, and then put it all back together. Okay, so I took the bolt out. Here's the filter. I'm going to try and do this without being on the ground. These are the hose clamp pliers. You can see they're flat and they're smooth, so they don't hurt the hose. And then what happens is once you open them, once you close them, they stay locked. So that's going to hopefully stop most of the fuel from coming out. So I'm going to put a pair. I'm going to try and put a pair on each side. It won't lose too much from the motor side, but from the tank, it just runs. And like I said, I am going to put a petcock in here, a shutoff, but I bought the wrong size the wrong size shutoff. Okay, you can see I got one of these on there. I can't really get another one on there, so what I'm going to do is take this clamp off this side, and then get this hose off. Oops, that's not what we wanted to happen. That could have been bad. Okay. Just working the hose back and forth, trying to get it loose on the filter. Oh, come on. It's coming little by little. Wow, that thing is stuck. Okay, I'm actually surprised this didn't give me any problems. Right there's an actual leaf inside there. And this thing is absolutely, there's another leaf right there. There's the new one. If you ever have a runnability problem with your tractor, it's probably this filter, even if it doesn't have a lot of hours. My 1025, I had fits with this thing, but it was because at that time I was using jerry cans and they weren't the cleanest. The other thing is there is a direction of flow. So this is an arrow here and it's pointing that way. So the skinny side, so it's got to go in fuel tank and that way. And that matters. Okay, before I put that back up into place, I'm going to start it and make sure I don't have a leak. Then I'll bolt it in and the fuel system's done. And I even made it not to make a giant mess. Let's see what happens. It's Probably going to take a couple of times to start because I got to refill that fuel, that ball. Okay, no leaks, beautiful. So I'm going to bolt this back up in, and we're done with the fuel system. Okay, the last thing is the front axle oil. First thing I did was remove the dipstick. Now the parts guy told me that a lot of people break this when they do their 200-hour service. Mine was really tight, so if you look at the slot there, get a large flathead screwdriver and use that to loosen it. It came right out with that. I'm actually not going to be reusing this because we're going to be doing an upgrade, and we'll do that in a minute, and I'll show it to you. But then, the bottom of each wheel, or on each side by the wheel there, is a 14mm bolt. You got to drain both sides. Now, I already took, I don't feel like jacking it up, so I'm using a red Solo cup. But this was not encouraging to me. That's the first batch of fluid that came out of it. Now, it was still coming out, so I put the plug in. I'm going to empty this, and I'm going to keep draining it. I'm going to drain both sides completely, and then we'll put some fresh oil in there. Okay, so I got all the fluid out, and it looks nasty. I think in hindsight, I would probably change this fluid at 100 hours. But the problem I'm having is because there's no vent in this axle, it keeps burping back up out of it again. I just found this funnel, and I'm hoping that this is going to help me, but even pouring it slow, let's see, this might work. You got to put 0.89 gallons in it. This isn't any better. So this is going to take me a while. Keep that from burping up. So I'll go ahead and fill it, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. But this is going to take a long while. I'm not even at a half a gallon yet, and I've been at this for 20 minutes. Okay, so I completely forgot. If you can look right down at that hole, there's one on each side, and that's a 4mm little Allen screw. And when you take those out, it vents the axle so you can put the fluid in. So hopefully that saves you guys some heartache. Okay. So a couple of things. When fluid starts coming out of those little holes with the little Allen plugs, you're full. So stop pouring. So be cognizant of that. I've checked it with the dipstick, and I've added the plugs back in again, and it's fine. And the last thing we're going to do as part of this service is I'm going to add the Otis Innovations vented axle cap kit. I have no idea if I need it. I have not had a problem, but I've seen several other tractors on several other channels that have where they've blown out the front axle seals, and they strongly believe that it's because it's building pressure in the axle and it's got nowhere to go. So if you haven't seen this, it's a metal dipstick, and then it's got a port coming out of it. You put the tube on it and you run it up inside under your hood, and that's got a vent in it, and that allows it to vent but also keeps everything from getting back down inside it again. I believe, I could be wrong, there's a one-way valve in there, so it can only come out and won't go back in. But we're going to go ahead and install this now, and I'm going to walk you through it, and this will be the end of what seems like a forever 200-hour service. Because of my knee, I'm moving so slow that feels like I've been doing this for a month, but it's definitely taken me probably 4 or 5 times longer than it would normally. This really isn't that long or that complicated of a service. I just am moving slow with my knee. So let's go ahead and get this installed. Okay, so here's the new aluminum or metal, I think it's aluminum, vented dipstick. I put a little anti-seize on it where this thing came out so hard. I'm just going to throw that in. and snug it up. Just going to give that a little snug with a pair of pliers, which I lost. Nope, these aren't the ones I wanted, but they'll work. Okay, so that's snug. Now, we'll go to the next step. Okay, so what I did was I jacked up this side as high as it would go until the axle is all the way at its farthest point down, so that I know that it won't stretch the hose. And then what I'm going to do is cut it so that it's just not quite snug, but that way when it goes back up the other way it won't kink. So I'm going to end up putting mine up behind the air cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the air cleaner cover off, and I will show you. It attaches with sticky backed zip tie holders. I got to get an alcohol prep pad. We'll clean it, and then we'll install it. Okay, so we're just going to clean up. Where we're going to stick it. Don't think I'm going to put one out here, but we're going to see in a second when I get it installed. Okay, we're going to pull that back off the vent. That alcohol dry for a second. Okay, so the kit comes with 3 of the stickies for your zip ties. A grommet in case you want to put it somewhere else. You want to drill a hole, it'll be a 1-inch hole. I'm not going to do that. And it does have screws to screw these tabs in. I'm also not going to do that. I think they'll stay. And it also has a clamp for the end of the hose, but it says you don't need to use that if you don't want to. I think I might. Okay, so I went ahead and put the zip tie through and pulled the sticky off already, and that'll hold it for me. And I'm just going to get this thing into place. Press on it good so it stays. Tighten that up, and then we'll do a second one. Probably down here. Do the same thing. Get that in there good. Tighten that down. Now you're just looking to hold this. You're not looking to crush the tube, obviously. And we'll get that down there. I want to measure that out. Maybe I will put a sticky on the frame. I don't really want to. I'm not going to lie. Well, let me ponder this for a second. Okay, I did decide to put one on down here. Come on. Should have taken the sticky off camera. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to push this down. That's all the way down against the stop on the other side. I'm going to cut it right about there. If I can find my cutters. Oh, there they are. stick that on there. Then I'm going to go ahead and lower the jack to make sure it doesn't kink when it goes up, which it doesn't. So I will go ahead and put a clamp on that. First, I'm going to make sure the airbox fits. Now that I've done, first I'm going to cut the tabs off the zip ties. If you guys watch my channel, you know it's a big pet peeve of mine. Okay, now let's make sure the airbox cover still fits. No problem. Now all I got left to do is put the clamp on that, and that is done. So that does it for our 200-hour service at 226 hours. Few things. Knowing now what I know about how that fluid came out of the front axle, I would definitely change it again sooner. So I will not be waiting 200 hours to do it again. I'll probably check it in about 50 hours and then see how it looks, and then change it at 100. The oil, I'm going to start doing every 50 hours. It's not that expensive. John Deere doesn't tell you to. I just feel better about it. And I think that's about all. Other than that, no surprises. I did a little bit more than recommended because I just wanted to. I lubricated all the shifter points. I lubricated the seat. I lubricated the hood hinges, or where it's pivots, and also the latch to get that done. I installed the Otis Innovations vent, which hopefully helps. Now my next steps are to give it a good cleaning, give it a good wax job. I've got to replace all the stickers on the, or a bunch of the stickers on the loader, because I blew them off with the pressure washer and it's making me crazy. Other than that, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you didn't know how to do this, you're comfortable with doing it now. I hope if you did know how to do this, you weren't totally bored. I appreciate you staying out here with me and doing this project. I really enjoyed having you around with me. I always like having the company. This is over 4 or 5 days. You should probably figure about 3 hours, I would think, regular time, if you're not injured as I am right now, and you're and you've got everything you need to do it. But take your time on it. Don't rush it. Make sure you get everything done on it. It's worth it. It's worth all the, you know, we pay a lot of money for these. We want to keep them around, and they do a lot for us. So that's it till next time. I'll see you next time on Mighty Little Green Machine.